Welcome to the Black Appalachian Coalition's podcast entitled Blac Re-Membering, where we will bring to you the heavy and the hope across the Ohio River Valley. We want to remember who we are, where we've come from. We want to speak to the oral history of what we've done, what we've achieved. We want to speak to the ills that we have experienced, while also finding solutions to those problems, those issues. We want to deal with the narrative that has kept us deeply rooted in despair. Now we want to punch through that narrative and stand up and say, we are remembering our Black past, and we are rooted, and we are here to stay. Welcome to Blac Re-Membering. We hope that you find your place, your space, and your voice in this podcast.
Hello, my name is Melanie Meade, and I want to welcome you to Black Podcast, the Black Appalachian Coalition podcast. We will be remembering, highlighting the heavy and the hope. And I want to thank you for my guest. Can you tell me your name and where you are from? Where were you born?
How you doing? My name is Jabar. I'm from Clairton, Pennsylvania. I left in the 80s and I came back in the early or the mid 90s. And I did notice a difference to me, the difference of the 80s and the 90s. The 80s was like a dream.
That's interesting that you say that. Could you give us maybe like a day in the life of Jabar in the 80s? Some of the things you saw and some of the things you did, the people you had to interact with in the 80s in Clairton.
In the 80s, to me, it was beautiful. It was like us being the little rascals from the projects. It was like we would be by the church on Boundary and Crest Street in the woods making go-karts from old bike tires and wood that we found. We would try to make clubhouses. We had hound dogs. It was a different mentality compared to now.
And if you don't mind, could you share with me how old you are?
I'm 43.
And how long have we known each other?
I think you knew me longer than I knew you over 25 years.
Absolutely. Our families have been close-knit, and that's one of the things for me that I can remember well about the 80s. We had a close-knit family. I can remember you all making those little things, and it was so nice to know that you all had the brains and the capacity to create, right? I think that helps a person have confidence in themselves, and then it leads them down roads, and paths and journeys that open them up to a greater path, which I feel that you're on now. But how would you compare the 90s when you returned to the 80s? What were some of the differences that you found or that you experienced?
Well, most of the people my age, they had a chance to experience the underage club life to where I was at in the world. I was in Columbus, Ohio for a few years. And the only way to experience that was to go to the skating rinks on the weekend, and they would shut down skating at a certain time. And it would be like the club, it would be dances and DJs and stuff like that. Compared to the 80s, it was mostly arcades, it was swimming pools, it was go-kart tracks at Century 3 Mall, which is 2 or 3 miles away. Kids was 6 and 7 years old. We would get together with all our friends and catch the bus, Wouldn't even take us 5 minutes to get there, and we basically fill up the whole bus. And when we get there, we'll go to the movies. We'll go in the mall with so many toy stores. It was Children's Palace, Toys R Us, KB Toy Store, BMX track, Kmart, like everywhere, everything. It was always a journey, and it was fun. We made fun of it.
Right. I can remember waiting on the yellow bus to go to the skating rink over McKeesport. That was like one of our greatest adventures, coming up for the weekend. And like you, I remember we had so many stores. Our community was filled with stores in the 80s versus the 90s, when you saw a lot of things shut down and a lot of buildings were like dilapidated. Because I returned in the 90s, early 90s, after I graduated high school in Northern Virginia, because my dad wanted me to come back to go to college here. So I'm glad that you had some time here to have good fun. What would you say you would want to create here and now? What are your thoughts about the community and what you can contribute? And is there a space for you to provide and contribute? Do you feel that exists here for you?
Well, I recently just found out that I am accepted by people who do want to help the community, and my visions are being accepted. I'm trying not to monetize it, and I'm working to create something beautiful. I don't want to put too much out there, but it's definitely going to be for adults and kids.
Sure, we love it. And I understand, I don't want you to give your visions away. I'm glad that you still have a vision for the community, and that you feel accepted, because that is important to community, that we're all accepted and feel welcome to share our talents. I think that's one thing that I could remember, where everyone would pitch in, and now you don't really see or hear about much going on for our youth, let alone people coming together, unless it's about sports or other performances, not really where we're just providing space for our youth to grow. Like, what you mentioned about taking old and used material. There's a new term for that, and it's called like going green, zero waste. But that was a part of what we did to maintain life. And that is really and truly sustainability. So I, wanted to bring you on this podcast to not only share, what you are planning to do, but also to share what you've already done, and how that can contribute to the current platforms that exist with this going green and sustainability movements and things like that. Because in order for us to get to the money part, which you mentioned earlier, you don't want to monetize it, but you know very well that you can't live well without a lot of money, or without money, you got to pay your bills. So we have to find a way where we can monetize what you do, not because you're seeking money, but because the money exists. There are grants and funds for what you want to do. And we sometimes don't gain the access to that knowledge, in my opinion, because of the way our city is made up. And so tell me about your garden. I've been talking to you a lot about it. I want the listeners to know, what made you start a garden, and why do you think it's important in this time?
At first, it was more or less like I did it because I was working too hard and I wanted to be able to work less, and it was survival. And then I started realizing I can can my own food. I met another friend who was teaching me different things and saying that I could dehydrate a lot of food, just how like they make cranberries and raisins and stuff, and it was more than that. I can do bananas and different fruits. And then when I noticed the taste, it was different. It was fresh. My body reacted different to it, and I liked it. And then just thinking I can create a green thumb for myself, that was a plus. Watching it grow, like creating, I create art. I like to make statues, carve stuff out of wood, old scrap metals. I like to make statues out of that. I like to try to build cyber quads, which is electric motorcycles, bikes. I just created a kid's electric lawnmower that's safe, that wouldn't hurt a child that was between 8 and 12 years old who used it, or maybe even younger.
I'm just listening to you and I can't help, I'm laughing with joy, just because of your wisdom and knowledge. Here you are creating electric lawnmowers. Right now, there's a great need and a great push by the government for people to go electric. So I'm hoping, that we can get you connected to places that can fund your dream, not steal your dream, and as well to help our youth, so that they can understand and see people who look like them doing things in these spaces and gaining from them, not just merely working. Like you mentioned, you were working too hard. And a lot of times our parents and our grandparents thought that you had to be actively doing something and busting a sweat and doing it to mean you were working, and to just sit, like you said, and reflect and even think about what can I do? What should I be doing? I think that meditation is why you are such a great success in achieving and accomplishing so much. I know I'm grateful for you. I can always have someone to share with my son, when he has a question and I don't know much, or when he has excitement about something that I'm not much aware. I know I can lean on you to help explain it to me as a concerned mother, and to also ensure that he's going in the right direction. I am thankful that I have you and that you are doing things that not only sustain yourself, but sustain community. And I know that we will be bringing you back on the podcast because there's so much that you can share about what you do, because you do so many things, master of many trades. And you're always willing and open to give to the youth, which we don't see a lot being done here for our youth. And I'm hoping that you will get the space to do what you like to do, so that we can see our youth thrive and live the way that they should be living versus them living how they think they're supposed to live.
I agree. And it's wild because I saw maybe a group of like 10, 15 young guys, and they was like probably between 14 and 17 years old. And from the outside looking in, people that look at them, that see them, they probably thought like they thugs or something like that. But when you get to know them, they skateboard, they BMX, they like roller skating, rollerblading, and they be out there, around their houses. That's what they doing. And like I've been at a few cookouts with them, and we was playing volleyball. We was diving in the swimming pools together, like I was like a big kid and they was young, and they embraced it, and they liked the fact that I was still like a big kid. And when I seen them in my eyes, I knew I had to not give up on my dream and to try to put that type of stuff in the community. So the BMX track that we're working on right now, I just talked to the mayor, and he said he'll help us get excavators in and start to create it. We do have a space for it. And like I said, I don't want to monetize it. It's for those who willing to embrace it, the youth who want to have a chance to better themselves. It's going to be for them. Maybe we will create summer programs for them to work there and generate income for them before they go to college. And hopefully we help inspire them to go to college.
Yeah, and I think that you, like I said, you even writing a documentary about this process is a way you can monetize it where you may not be taking from those who you feel, need it, but you're also sharing your story, because I think like we don't see enough people who look like us doing these things. And a lot of people who look like us who are doing these things don't connect them to sustainability, the sustainability movement, the zero waste. And these things are all discussed in the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, the RGGI, Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. See, all of these things play a role in big money. And I think that when we keep it quiet, we sometimes only get what the community wants us to have. So I am thankful for this space to be able to give voice to your work. And like I said, I'm sure I'll be having you hopefully back here to discuss about other projects that you're working on, because I know that you have a lot that you're doing and it would take up your whole day if I were to keep you here. Once again, I thank you for joining me on the Black Podcast, where we are remembering, honoring our hope and highlighting our future. So thank you.